This is Cefn Golau's cemetery. It's located on a narrow mountain ridge between the communities of Rhymney, Tredegar and Abertyswg in the southeast. Back in the 19th century, some 200 people were laid to rest here in this isolated location, far away from their grieving friends and families. But why exactly were these bodies buried in such a remote location in the first place? And why, some 150 years later, is this particular episode of Welsh history worth re-examining in light of current events? Between 1832 and 1866, a series of deadly cholera pandemics broke out sporadically across Wales, claiming thousands of lives. In 1849, a particularly devastating outbreak resulted in the death of 4,500 people between May and November alone. The reason why these outbreaks were so devastating was in large part due to a lack of scientific understanding around the causes of the disease. As a result, victims' bodies were purposefully buried in remote locations, such as here in Cefn Golau, out of fear that they might infect the healthy. We now know, however, that cholera is caused by bacteria and is typically contracted from dirty water. Despite enduring wave after wave of tragedy, the people of these communities pulled together and eventually defeated cholera once and for all. What became clear in the aftermath was that there was no going back to how things were. Society needed to change in some fundamental ways. In 1848, the Public Health Act established the Board of Health, the first time the government had ever legislated on health issues in Wales. These newly established health boards had the power to improve sanitation levels by cleaning the streets, by managing sewerage, and by ensuring clean supplies of drinking water. Fast forward 150 years, and Wales is once again facing a similarly devastating pandemic, except that this time we're dealing with a virus, COVID-19, y Gofid mawr. In the same way that the cholera pandemics of the 19th century paved the way for groundbreaking social innovations, today's crisis affords us the opportunity to pause and reflect on the kind of society we want Wales to be. Now is the time for us to adopt bold and ambitious policies which under current circumstances appear far less radical than they might have done so only a few weeks ago. With this in mind, now is the time to introduce a universal basic income to give the people of Wales a greater degree of financial security in these uncertain times. We could also re-examine ideas such as adopting a 4-day work week that would allow us all to strike a better work-life balance and to devote more of our time to the things that truly matter. Needless to say, the crisis has clearly demonstrated the necessity of having well-funded public services, especially the importance of having a thriving NHS. Finally, recent controversies over the procurement of PPE and test kits have once again shown how the current constitutional arrangement is failing Wales, strengthening the argument that the best future for our nation lies outside of the Union.